Man, happy Freedom Day, Freedom Weekend. Um, part of our training, like I said, I first want to show gratitude and be thankful that we made it here safe. We are alive. We wake up with momentum, and that is glory to God with gratitude. All right, and this mindset call this morning. Halfway through the year, it is a good time to go over some of our processes. First thing in the morning after a long weekend, I look forward to a pre-market process, and I wanted to share. I actually had a couple of calls, and I wanted to share some of the pre-market things that we do before the market opens, but also create a couple of checklists that we can all use during our trading. And so I'm gonna share my screen, and I'm gonna pull up. I'm calling it my breakthrough process. You know, let's see, pull this up. Live breakthrough. And I got a couple of PDFs just open. All right, let me share my screen real fast. All right, document I was looking for. Share. All right, and so also I wanted to share the Momo Gate too. This is a checklist um, that I was talking to one of the traders this weekend, and they're like, when we use the Momo Gate, I know that we have the conditions that are set up, uh, pre-set up, and here's a scorecard. And so the scorecard is really just to identify, while you're in a trade, if you checked off some of the catalysts, right? Some of the 8 factors that make up the money gate. I just changed it and created a checklist because we also had another process where the pre-market process. Actually, I'm gonna share it in the chat. Got a lot of screens going on, which is the trading mindset, the DCG challenge, and this is kind of like a pre-market checklist mentally before you start actually trading. And also, you have the check my readiness when you wake up, and it actually we got 53 minutes to the market is open, and how are you feeling mentally, right? If you have a clarity or if you foggy, it asks you to go through some questions, and then also in here there's a briefing room where this is Miss Cleo, and I began the briefing just to get an update of what the market is doing, right? So first thing in the morning, I know that if people are, um, moving around, this is a reminder that there's a um, pre-market checklist that you need to go through. One is the information, like a pre-flight, and then one is also mentally yourself. And so I've created this, briefing room where one of the first set of data is I want to know what's the catalyst, what's the order flow, how is the market, what is the sectors that are bullish, and this is able to go through and give you a pre-market briefing of what's happening. Right, the market state is cautious bullish, the expansion. So you have your market intel, and it lets you know what the day before was, what is today, and then also what sectors. Like healthcare, utilities. Right, healthcare. The last 3 days, the trend is rising, strong bull. Um, right now utilities are falling in the 3 day, but it still has momentum. The materials. So here you just have a sector update, and you see here that consumers, the trend is rising, but it's still in a bear momentum, and it just gives you a preview, and you also can actually type in response and ask questions to actually go into your, once you have your status of the market, you can also go into status of asking you to see if you are mentally ready to trade, right? And it's right, and it says, hey, I need to evaluate your readiness. Type ready when you're ready to be in the interview process. So you type in ready, and it takes you mentally, after you have a briefing, to actually ask the questions of how you're actually feeling. So that's just a reminder of a mindset check. And then and so then when you're also in a trade, you go through these uh, checks if you're using the momentum, and you want to check your setups, the catalyst, volume confirmation, and this is another part that I plan on adding to this trading mindset DCG challenge. All right, and that is to help a person remember to get prepared in the morning. Right, when I tell the guy to get prepared in the morning, or it's like, what's to look for? Right, the look for is if you have a briefing of the market, and then also how you're feeling mentally. And so the next part, when I go in here and I click um, status, I go back and I says, the first question they ask if I check my readiness, right, is my mental state. And this, of course, this takes about 3 to 4 minutes because it's actually going to go through your mental state, your trade plan, your risk acceptance, and then devil advocate, like what happens if you roll, right? And it just goes through that status. So the actual checklist, um, the actual mindset was asking, a life reflective, the trader behind the trade. And I actually talked about yesterday that I had some questions that, I shared with, one or two questions that help you put an AI to actually run you through a test, uh, you know, run you through a test for self-awareness and um, using AI. So these are things that you can actually go through to see how discomfort is impacting your trading, how um, you know self-analysis, and you want to use AI as a thinking partner. And so if you have ChatGPT or Claude, um, and you have an AI that you're, opening a thread, you can have one that says simplified breakthrough process that is just for your personal counseling, right? Just for your personal breakthrough. And so I've actually put together, I'm going to share, a breakthrough prompt, right? And this prompt, we call it a DCG breakthrough operator. And its goal is to, um, clarify, how you're feeling and things that are making you discomfort in life before you even hit the market. And so this is why I called it a breakthrough operator, right? Um, it frame everything as a performance coach. So this way you can actually put in your deepest, if you're having an argument with someone, or if you are having complex issues, just in life in general. And his goal is to not tell you what you want to hear, but help you grow from it, from the work that you can put in. So, you're supposed to keep a running tab, a running thread. You want to convert your insight into, uh, share, notes. It also takes your birthday and analyzes some of the human design part of it. And so here are some of the questions. Right. It says before you change anything, observe the patterns objectively. Most traders never audit themselves with their own evidence. So these are prompts that help you build a map, an honest picture of how you're actually operating under pressure. That was one of the things I talked to. I did a podcast with Marines yesterday, and it was saying what was one of the things that you learn during the Marine Corps, and it says you never know how you really are until you're under stress, right? And so when you're under stress, that's where a lot of your truth comes out at. So there's an alignment and gap detector, right? Things that you need to know the truth of, like, hey, when things get hard, do you buckle down your goals, or do you, try to escape? what are you actually spending your time on? So if he says I want to make a major change and need to find where I'm misaligned, here's my current reality. And you can put your biggest goal and what you actually spend your time doing and what frustrates you the most. And these are thought-provoking questions. Help. Um, this also came from the transformation survey. I have a trader transformation survey that is designed to help a person get clarity on, you know, uh, one of the main reasons they're trading and what's their goals to get realigned so you can get refocused. And this is going to act as an elite performance coach, identify the major gaps between my daily actions and my stated goal, point out the silent links where I waste energy or dodge the real work. Give me 3 uncomfortable but necessary truths about my alignment. So the first time, if you've never, used AI to walk you through scenarios, this is almost like using AI to be a journal. And if you are able to go through these different stages, right? So I'm gonna give you this prompt. Actually, I'll share it right now so you can actually add a prompt. I'm gonna put it in the chat. You can download it. Right? I call it the breakthrough prompt that you can create a project. So the goal is to take your AI, right, and create a project, whether in ChatGPT, create a project, and these are the instructions. So how you do that is, you'll just open up Claude, um, open up ChatGPT, right? You can copy and paste where it says you are, right? And you just go over to Claude or Chat, right? Come over to your projects and you just hit a button, right? And you can call it breakthrough operator. You create the project, right? And you can just start, you start it here and then you use this one, all right? You can just place it in and then you'll put the question. You put that prompt in the first one, and then from there you'll start operating. If you went to Claude, same thing. Come over here to Claude, go to your projects, right? You put a new project in. Describe your projects. Right? And you create the project, and you put the instructions here. All right. Put the instructions here, just from you. All right. And then I'm gonna give you some additional documents. You'll upload from the device. Right? And you'll put the simplified breakthrough process and this operator build. You put it inside the files. Right? And this is how you create a breakthrough. And then here you type run operator. All right. So I'm just going through the example of how you use, and this is how you start it off. All right. And this is right, and it's going to ask me a question. And it's going to start off where, I'm going to start going through this process of having breakthroughs specifically, right? So activated trading coach persona for Jamar James, right? Which the trading coach starts off, of course, we want to have breakthroughs in trading, but some of these things will, activate, different gaps that we're experiencing overall. All right. So it starts out, right, the actual trade, the journal entries, cross-examine the logic, right? One question at a time. All right. And question one of the life audit, right? where are you at as a trader right now? What are you actually trying to be in 12 months out? Give me the raw version. So, going through this, right, you want to be able to, have your interviews. I know that sometimes when I ask questions, a person will give me a quick answer, right? But here you can go as deep as you want. And, um, you want to be able to reveal the distance between who you say you are and how you actually spend your hours, right? And now you can actually start, this alignment and gap detector, the pattern and blind spot detector. So this document, right? If you go through all 19 questions by the end of the year, right, you'll have complete clarity to build your goals and your goal setting for the next year, and you'll also um, almost have like your own therapy session. So I know I was sharing some of these questions one at a time, but here you can start using AI as um, a second brain and also a performance coach. And so using the patterns from my history, map out my decision style, rational, emotional, intuitive. Right. It's also curiosity to know that how you operate. Right. Show me my predictable failure modes in each state and design an upgraded version of my decision process with specific guardrails for my worst state. Right. These are an entire framework to help you make better decisions and also all based on your own personal behavior. Right. Because one of the things I was saying that each person needs personalized coaching based on your experience, your internals, uh, your strengths, your weaknesses, um, and that is the best traits. At 25 can be the exact thing to cap you at 40. So, like if you're at 25 and you used to, jump around and have multiple things that you're trying to accomplish, but then at 40, maybe that is spreading you too thin, right? And it's actually a breakthrough of, operating procedure that you may need to modify. So, here is asked it to name the single strength you should stop leaning on this year, right? And so maybe I've leaned on taking chances or taking risks that at 25 they were good, but at 40 they're not, right? And so this is just a way to identify your mindset, right? And remove the ego protection, right? Because some of the questions a person will never ask themselves, right? And here, like for the excuse and friction eliminator, here are the main reasons I tell myself I haven't hit my goals yet. What's your excuse one? Your excuse two? Your excuse three? Right? Ruthlessly deconstruct these. Show me the behavior or the bias, hidden fears driving each one of these. Right? And so then reframe every excuse as a solvable system or engineering problem, not a personal failing. Give me one dead simple rule I can implement tomorrow. All right. And so this is turn vague frustration into precise, fixable system problems. These are the things that in the trader transformation that I actually, started thinking and I realized that I wasn't getting, real deep answers because, a lot of times it's like it takes the same thing if I go through the pre-market checklist, right? One of the reasons I think people will skip this is because it goes through the mental state before the market open and they run out of time. So it takes about 3 to 6 minutes to type in every question, right? And so you have 8 questions. How are you feeling right now? Describe your mental state and your honest reason for opening the charts today, right? And um, you had this mental state for phase one, and you have to think before the market opens, right? And then once you describe that, right? Well, I'm a bit tired or calm or confused, right? It takes some energy. Well, they had a breakthrough, right? Each one of these maybe a week, two, but to get through all these questions, right? Upgrade deeply, the nervous system, stress, inhalation, right? Design a practical stress protocol for high stakes performance in volatile environments, right? And then it basically says include a daily 10 to 15-minute baseline practice, real time regulation tools, right? They help you calm down and and be calm through a volatile market. Middle models you can't see. Design 5 to 7 sticky original middle notes that simplify decision making, leverage spotting, failure processing. So the goal in the mindset in the mastermind is to help each person, have breakthroughs and get better. And now giving you this process, right, which is the um, AI command that just show you how to build a project. And now I'm actually going to provide this document. And so you use this document, right, with the script, and you can actually go through these different these different steps. You code how people become unstoppable, right? That's just a curiosity post, right? After you ask them to simplify your decision making and help you, right? Now you're saying decode how people will become unstoppable. I want to understand how people break through their past limits. Walk me through the psychology, the belief system, daily behaviors of someone who consistently levels up. Even when things get hard, boring, or overwhelming, focus how they operate when motivation is gone. Make it practical, uncomfortable where it needs to be, right? And this is um, you know, what is these people do on their worst, lowest motivation days? Copy that. All right. So decoding how people become unstoppable also is giving you the tools to be unstoppable as well, right? Because AI is unbiased and it's you actually doing research, right? And so teach me what I've ignored based on my most high performers, which they learned earlier. Create a custom list of 10 critical skills, ideals, and mental models I've likely been blind to, given my situation. Describe your situation. I don't know what your situation. It could be that I'm married. I'm, comfortable. I haven't done anything. I haven't taken any chances. It could be that I take all these chances and I'm unstable. Right? You can describe your situation. Right? And then for each, explain why it matters in a way I probably underestimated. And one small way is to start practicing this one. So as you giving AI real data, is actually these answers are going to evolve, right? And now the compressed curriculum, ignore traditional education based on where I'm at in life, right? Describe where you're at in life. This is not to be done in one day, right? This is to be done over a period of time. And I'm not going to share this again. Uh, I'll probably end up building a something like the trading challenge, this trading mindset, and I'm actually going to add it into it. So, I'm building into this mindset of what traders should know. And I wanted to share that with some of you guys here or some of the exercises you can go through. Right. Aim high. Right. You clearly the rod and upgraded the operator. Now point the upgrade you had targets big enough to matter. Right. So now it says a 10-year projection turning point. Using my patterns and history, right, create a realistic 10-year psychological and lifestyle projection for me. Then identify the 4 or 5 most likely turning point years or phases ahead and themes they usually involve. All right. So now I'm saying that, hey, forecast the next 10 years for me and turning points. And this is some of the stuff that Mike has asked me to send over to him. And I was like, let me put it into, a process where you can actually go through the different stages, right? The aim high stage, um, you know, here on stage 3, the upgrade that you deeply need, right? The second stage, um, with a group of questions, you confront yourself honestly. The first stage is just see yourself clearly, right? The honest picture of how you're actually operating and how you actually operate under pressure, right? And so these 4 stages in life, right, of, hey, one of the stages I want to aim high and what goals do I have, right? What legacy do I want? And what's my trajectory towards my legacy, right? Train the version of you 10 years ahead. So you should start training now for the version that you want to be 10 years from now. All right. And so this is a kind of a life check. So I just went through a pre-market and said, hey, I'll be ready for the market, check my readiness. Right. And we also check our readiness about getting older. Right. Can we also check our readiness about accomplishing our goals in our environment? Right. And so without execution, it's entertainment, right? So you can go through this entire document and it's like kind of insightful and it's entertaining. But then you also can, start modifying your environment and your network architecture, right? And it says guide me through the ruthless audit of my physical environment, my digital diet, my inputs, my immediate social and professional circle, right? Give me a complete concrete framework to redesign my ecosystem so high performance becomes the default state, right? The 24-hour breakthrough engine. So, these different stages, right? It's like how many times have we gone through there and analyze and review what stage that we're in. And so, you know, a 3-minute evening review. What did I intend today, and what actually happened? Right? Where did the gap come from? Right? Did I get distracted from people? Did I get distracted from social media? How did I not hit my goals today? I got my little 6 o'clock Monday alarm coming on. And what was one thing I was saying, and I will change tomorrow. And then, how to run this arc is basically telling you one prompt per day, one per focus week. Don't binge in a whole afternoon, right? And so if you're going through all these stages and you created a project, right, and you already have the breakthrough operator, right, you may want to do this, once a weekend. So with our Saturday morning tune-up, right, you can actually go through these stages, right? And this is a simplified breakthrough process, right? And so I know that we have goal setting at the end of the year, but do we have a breakthrough process in mid-year, right? And this is for the trader that's behind the trade. All right, so to me, this is worth thousands. People go see a business coach, they go see a life coach. Some people never see a performance coach, never see a life coach, never see a therapist. And this is some of the questions and insights that you can ask. You can go build your project. You see, I just built it in 30 minutes. But without execution, it's just entertainment, right? And to get through all 19 of these, each one is going to make you really think and have a deep perspective. And it's something you can do in the next 6 months, right? And this is also we can be a part of your mindset of like, hey, I'm preparing for the version of myself 10 years from now, right? And that is powerful because I think a lot of people never have a performance coach, never have a life coach, a therapy coach. They ask their friends and family, but how many times do you get to ask yourself? And now you can use AI to kind of leverage that. All right. So this is not about trading. This is the pre-trade. The same way that in the trading challenge, right? I have the trading mindset DCG challenge, the trade interview, the pre-trade audit. And I'm eventually gonna put a cap on that, but because on the war room, the briefing, right? This one costs me every time I run this. So you guys take advantage of it now before I put a you should have something in the morning that gives you an update and give you current data. You have all the reports that you should run yourself, but this is also something that I used when I was in Vegas just to see what the market was doing pre-market. So I download the 2 projects that I put in there, and let me know if this has been beneficial. Because I think if you go through the process, you guys is on this call, um, hopefully it's a good gift. All right, time and effort went into that document. All right. And on that note, thank you guys. I see you guys in the chats. I'm gonna take it easy for the first hour of the market. So when I hop on a call, we're gonna let the market digest. And patience is a big part of trading. All right. On that note, give yourself patience and grace, and talk to you guys in the inside. All right. Peace out.